Hello, and welcome to the Cycle Starters podcast, where we talk ancestral healing, astrology, embodiment, and all sorts of cool things. So, I am your host, Heather Rebecca Wilson, and I'm so excited to be here today with my sister, my friend, Drea Aguilar. Hi, Drea.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for saying yes. So, before we jump into our conversation, I want to remind people that I am an Ancestral healing guide, and I do have a monthly membership called the Ancestral Healing Collective. And it is a sacred space that I created for female-bodied cycle breakers to alchemize deep ancestral wounds into embodied joy, shifts to higher consciousness, and creative potential with the help of pleasure and astrology as transformative medicine. And as part of that membership, we have new moon pleasure practices every month with a dance party. And then I also have a guest expert lead a workshop. And Drea was our guest expert. I think it was like last November. So it's been a year.
Yeah.
So we will talk more about that workshop in a bit. But I want to read your bio so everybody gets a sense of the energy that you're bringing into this space, into this conversation. And then we're going to have our chat. Does that sound good?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Okay. All right. Me too. Perfect. Okay. Drea Aguilar is a woman of color of Filipinx heritage whose life started with the death of her mother when she was 2 years old and had just immigrated to the United States from South Korea. Just as her mother died, her father, who couldn't take the pressure and the sadness, left her under the care of her aunt. The core wounds she's worked through are abandonment, being raised under the indoctrination of colonial rule, and punishment for asking too many questions. 7 years ago, Drea quit her job as a producer in reality TV after 9 years of feeling stuck, unhappy, and unfulfilled. After a series of catalysts, some great like Burning Man, some really hard like her father's death, Drea realized she had a choice. That joy was always available, and as a sovereign being, she had free will. Drea began receiving Reiki healings, invested in her first life coach, and finally quit her job without much of a plan. She trusted the universe would catch her in this quantum leap. Fast forward to now, Drea is building her dream community in Austin, Texas, serving the collective as a healer, coach, and mentor. She's a mother to a rainbow starseed, Zephyr, and is here to support his mission by allowing him to dream big. Through Reiki and shamanic practice, as well as investing in her personal development, Drea empowered herself to declare herself a sovereign being, a bruja, and a wild woman. She shares her practice through vulnerable storytelling and teaches her clients to do the same. Drea is here to be your guide, holding up a mirror to your own divinity as she's discovered hers. By working with her, you'll break through your limiting beliefs, learn how to be a quantum manifester, discover your gifts, and share your magical medicine in service. I love that.
That still holds up a year later.
I know. I mean, I'm so excited to talk to you because it has been a year.
Yeah.
And we will get into that. I want to know what you are excited about these days. And even though this holds up, I'm sure there have been some changes. So anyway, I'm just so happy to be here with you.
Yeah.
So of course. So let's start with your ancestry. I know we mentioned a little bit here, but can you share with people what your ancestry is, where your ancestors are from?
Yeah, of course. So my ancestors are from the Philippines. My dad is from Bulacan, Manila, and my mom is from Maasin, Southern Leyte. And I have only very little experience in the Philippines, only having visited a handful of times. You know, I'm a California girl living in the middle of Texas right now, and you know that lineage though, and the ancestry. It's funny because of my life story of like not knowing my mom's side and not really getting much information from my father's side. So in a way, like a lot of my life has felt like this orphan that's just like, where do I belong and how do I fit in and who am I if I've been raised in these different cultures and kind of like not really connected to my own.
Whew, that's really powerful. And thank you for sharing that. And we're definitely going to dive deeper into this. You really do have an incredible life story. You've been through a lot,
Yeah.
to say the least. And you are a mom to a rainbow starseed. So that's a whole life adventure that you've said yes to. Well, so what can you tell us about your ancestral healing journey
Mm.
so far? And specifically, what are the cycles that you feel like you're dissolving?
A big part of that un unmasking and rediscovery of my ancestry was working with you and working with Trinity or Veronica and opening those portals up. And what a beautiful time that was, like 2018, 2019, 2020. Wow. Where that started to get explored, and just like the deepening of my relationship with it, finding the others that are like me and have the same values and the same connection to nature's wisdom, to the cosmos, and then to like walk this path together. That was very opening for me. Birth in 2018, that was like really the catalyst of it all, because like to your point, my life story has been super interesting. And when I gave birth, it was absolutely traumatic. And that was why I came to you. My main reason was to heal my womb and heal my body from the extreme trauma that I experienced in the hospital, and through that C-section and violation that they pressed upon me without my consent.
Mm.
And so that just unlocked this like ancient Cthulhu like dragon portal from my womb space, and it was hot and red and irritated, and so the anger and the grief that came through, and that I've had to hold and contain and be with since then. That's how it all started, was to first, recognize and honor where I come from in a different way, because the way I was raised in it was through Catholicism. And then, like I said, any questions I asked that at all poked holes into the theory of where we come from, I would get in trouble and
Mm.
told that I was stupid, told that I was a witch, right? And I was like, oh,
Wow.
yeah. And the funny thing is, my dad would call me bruja, like very angrily. And I was like so hurt every time he said it to me. And I mistranslated it. I thought he was calling me stupid the whole time. And then, once I stepped into my own like spiritual path, I found out that bruja meant witch in Spanish. So he had called me that my entire life.
That is wild. You
Oh,
never
so
told me that. I don't
oh
remember
yeah,
that.
he
That
told
is
me.
wild.
I didn't put it together till COVID. I was like, oh yeah, that guy was calling me a witch. He knew this whole time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so how did you get to this place where you are sharing your medicine in
Mm.
the way that you are? And one thing that is actually not mentioned in your bio is working with plant medicines
Yeah.
and being in ceremony and holding other people. So, can you talk a little bit about that? Because again, I think that this is so new for so many people. There's so many misconceptions, so many
Right.
misunderstandings
Yeah.
about plant medicine in general, but plant medicine for ancestral healing.
Mm.
I'd love for you to share some goodies with us around this, because as you know, plant medicine has been an absolutely essential part of my ancestral healing journey. I would not be
Yeah.
doing this work without my plant allies supporting me
Mm.
in
Mm.
healing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna like open the floor. Like,
Okay.
what can you share about all of this?
Thank you. And to the part B of that previous question of like what's come through my ancestral healing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm too
It's
excited.
perfect.
I'm like so excited to talk about plant medicine. I'm like,
It
okay.
happens. I am too. I'm like, but it's all connected. Let's go back to when I was 18, when
Mhm.
this journey really started, and talk about plant medicine, where I was introduced to cannabis and psilocybin. And at the time, I was super depressed. I didn't know my up from down. I was a people pleaser. I was a rebel, and I was just very self-destructive. And at the same time, I was starting to build relationship with these medicines. And as a result, like my outlook shifted, and I could see nature, and I had always seen and been so connected to nature, but that relationship, and you're nodding your head, you know what I mean? Like the aliveness and the radiance and the remembrance of that we are nature, right? Started to come through way back then. And thankfully I spent my college years in Monterey, California, which is right next to Big Sur, California.
Mhm.
And because I was so enriched in just with the beauty of the ocean meeting the mountains, that was my spiritual awakening, was being so connected to the original ancestors, which are the trees and the
Mhm.
mushrooms. Right? And I've had some reflections from people from college, and they're like, it makes so much sense that you do what you do now. And I wouldn't trust anybody else to go and actually like hold space in this way. But you've been this way this whole time. You've always held space. You're always open. You're always encouraging people. And this is just my natural proclivity. And so, I worked in reality television outside of college for 9 years, and very much straight off the path with alcoholism, sex addiction, more disruptive behaviors. It wasn't until really 7 years ago or 8 years ago when I got pregnant that my life changed.
Mhm.
Having him was monumental to my growth and progress because it was no longer about me.
Right.
And we had bigger things, to consider, which was breaking the cycle and not continuing to carry on the inheritance of whatever I picked up through my DNA and through conditioning and behaviors of my caretakers, that I was very much from the beginning saying this ends with me. And I really attribute that to sixth grade when I read 1984, which like no
Mm.
one should be giving a sixth grader a George Orwell book. But like I was a rebel then. I was like, it's all fake. Fuck it.
Yeah.
So they're just watching us. I knew it. And so I've just kind of always been attracted to the fringe and going against the status quo, like
Mhm.
that rebel, that holy rebel could see past illusions. And so deciding to step into the role of a facilitator of psychedelics and earth medicines is scary. One, it's not widely acceptable, not under the eyes of certain, agencies. And it's super new, but it has changed my life so much. And it helps me understand just really why we're here and the next steps of our conscious evolution. It's all contained here, and we can move so much in one sit that we're moving mountains. We're rewriting our code and our DNA to a point where, despite everything that's crazy and what we see going on right now, it is such a contrast to the goodness that is available here in life that we are co-creating together. When we remember who we are, we co-regulate with one another, and we stay calm in our nervous system. And how we do that is by releasing the trauma from our somatic body. And it was really, yeah, again, Heather, like you did that for me with the egg work, and like being connected to the womb and not being ashamed of my body anymore. I have found such liberation in myself, and there's no way that I couldn't pay this forward. Like, this is my life. I would do this every single day for free if someone asked me to. Like, it's because I love it that much. And so, yeah, this work with these medicines are just so profound. And we're learning more and more about it each and every day of like how this truly can create such big change in one generation. You know, the sales can shift direction. And that's inspiring to me. And so, whatever risk is being taken right now, even just talking about it, so worth it. So worth it.
I agree. And I'm so inspired by you. And thank you for, any credit that you give me for your healing transformation. That's
Saved
really,
my life.
oh
You
my
saved
gosh.
and it's taken me for years, 5 years, to really own my body from that point on, right? Like healing it's a marathon. It's a long game, but I had made huge strides with you and how you showed me to look at things differently with bigger eyes, right? And more acceptance. And also just being a stand for something. And that you continue to do that is being a stand for what you believe in. And it's so inspiring. And so, yeah, you were one of my mentors, and it's awesome that you're excited to speak to me.
It's awesome that we get to be in each other's lives. And it's been amazing to watch you evolve and grow and just become more magical day by day. And you really are this amazing, witch. Honestly, right? I cannot get over that your dad was calling you a bruja like your whole life. I mean, my mind is like, but it's so awesome. It's so awesome, actually. Not that that you thought that he was calling you stupid, but in fact, he was
Wow.
calling you a witch. It's like, oh my God, this is just crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so you did mention that talking about working with earth medicines, right? Working with plant allies is still risky. So, with that in mind, what do you feel comfortable sharing around your work in that space? Because I do think it's
All
like
of it.
so, okay, amazing. All right. So, tell us,
Want it.
because you mentioned cannabis, tell us, pretend like I don't
Yeah.
know anything, right?
Okay.
Like we're talking to a listener who's new to all of this. What
Mm.
would you share about earth medicines for healing and for
Yeah.
ancestral healing?
So the one medicine that I hold most reverence with is something we call bufo or 5-MeO DMT. And this is what's considered a God molecule, or it's also like this elevator to God is what some people, that's how I was first introduced to it, was this is the elevator to God. And unlike ayahuasca or psilocybin, which takes a moment to digest, to then take effect, and then you're processing it through your digestion, so the effects last for hours, right? This is a toad venom from the Sonoran Desert. And the first recorded histories of it is from the Seri tribe or the Comcac Indians in the Sonoran Desert of Mexico. And its effects are very fast onset because it's something you inhale. And it's really from even a year ago, Heather, oh my God, so much has changed as far as even how I choose to work with it. Because what I was taught, this medicine is rare, right? It's coming from a toad, and they only emerge from the mud every 9 months, right? Gestation period. And they're in the darkness for that long, and they're producing all this DMT, which is the same chemical compound that we produce in our pineal gland and in our lungs. This helps us produce dreams. We have a flood of it when we are born, and we have a flood of it when we die. And I also believe you have a flood of it when you are giving birth. And so it creates this altered state where you are basically sound and frequency and light. And that's all you're experiencing. I believe that everyone is going to the same place. Perspective is the only thing that changes. So it could be the scariest thing you've ever seen or the most blissful experience you've ever had. And so once you've learned to master the blissfulness of it all, it is this quantum like expansion of understanding that we are all part of this um, beautiful tapestry that is life, that is source, that is co-creation. And when we are able to zoom out like that, what it blesses us with is ultimate gratitude, understanding, and remembrance. And when you have those three components flood your system, your nervous system just goes and
Mm-hmm.
it resets itself. So, I've witnessed all these somatic healings of just things the body needs to do just to get the trauma out of the body because, it's helpful to do talk therapy. I need therapy. We all do. And that's for the cognitive, that's for the brain, that's for the mind. But if we're not integrating the other two intelligences of our system, of this divine intelligent technology, which is our heart and our body, and if they're not working in coherence, then we're not an open channel, And so this medicine is something that calms the nervous system in the most profound way because you can't resist it. And I think that's what most people fear is the lack of control. And so the freer you are, the more willing you are to let go of control, the more more blissful, more heavenly, more profound that this experience can be. And even in your resistance, there's a lesson there. And so I've seen, 3 years worth of this work and consistent work. And it's absolutely beautiful and mind-blowing. I'm in awe of it. It is one of the most efficient and precise medicines I've seen out there. I've helped a woman heal herself of a cancer that was developing in her uterus in a
Oh my
month
gosh. Oh
with
my
a
goodness.
microdose. So these are tiny doses, like I said, rare and precious medicine. What I found out even over the last year as I work with this more, a little goes a long way. And the minimum effective dose is how we get to treat everything. There's this misconception, and mind you, I've done it myself. When we're sitting in ceremony or we're going through these experiences, that it has to be hot and heavy and hard, and we have to feel the pain to work through it. What if we didn't have to? What if it could be gentle and nurturing and so tender and caring? What would that do for someone? And so, I do live up to this conscious mother name of let me provide this womb-like place and be the doula of your death and your rebirth. And so it's just really cool to then experiment and see this minimum effective dose really create big, big shifts and changes in a safer context.
Gosh. I love that you're doing this. And I love that we're having this conversation because, I had my experience with 5-MeO-DMT right before the pandemic. It was like right on time. I think I
Yeah.
did it in like 2019, late 2019. And there's definitely Heather before and Heather after. It
Mhm.
completely changed me. And I will never go back to who I was before that. And it was terrifying and the most blissful experience I've ever had. It was all of those things. So, yeah, it was such a huge part of my ancestral healing journey. And it was so funny. I got an invitation and I was like, oh, maybe, whatever. And I got the invitation again. It came to me again and I couldn't say no. So I was like, okay, it's coming to me again. I guess I'm
Yeah.
doing this,
Yep.
and then I had no idea what I was in store for. And I haven't done it since then. I don't know if I will because it's that potent. I mean, I think
Mhm.
calling it like the God molecule is like a great name for it
Yeah.
because it completely shifted my nervous system, shifted my perspective on everything. And I shed a lot of fear, like
Mhm.
so much fear. And it was specifically, I remember this fear of being a bag lady living on the streets. I had this fear of being homeless
Wow.
and losing everything and being unsafe, this deep-seated like financial insecurity. Yeah, that just all went away.
Mm.
And I didn't know that I was living with it.
Yep.
Right? This fear that I
Yeah.
couldn't stop working. I had to
Yeah.
keep going or else I was going to end up, in the
Yeah.
gutter somewhere.
Great. Yeah.
It
And
was wild.
it's so interesting, right? Because it's patterned this similarly because it's this great reveal of these subconscious patterns based in fear, false evidence appearing real. And we
Mhm.
don't even know that it's ruling our life because it's just innate. It was inherited. And so this medicine is so powerful because talk about ancestral healing. This is the 7 generations back and 7 generations
Yeah.
forward that we have talked about. And I am living proof of that. And to your point, you've seen my trajectory and my life path. And it's just invited me to be more fully expressed than I've ever been before, really taking ownership of my gifts and who I am and stepping forward and being seen in that without that fear. And it's liberation, right? I like to call like the first day you ever sit with this medicine is your boof day. And so you have
Yeah. Oh,
your rebirth day.
seriously, it
Yeah.
is. I love that. That's perfect.
Yeah. And so it is this death and rebirth process. And just like any birth, it's not pretty. It's kind of all over the place and can be a lot. But on the other side of that, who do you get to be? Who do you get to become? And so I really help people get really clear in the beginning, right? When they say yes, it's going to be similar to what you experienced. If it came one way and then it came another way and it just kept scratching at the door saying, let me in, I'm here,
Mhm.
I'm here. And when you answer the call, you're like, okay, I see you, Toad. You're not leaving me alone. I keep hearing about you. And now you're here. And then to see what's on the other side of that for anybody, it's just the ultimate, if you know, you know.
Seriously. Totally. And I love your approach to this, bringing more love and nurturing to this ceremony. I think that that is so beautiful
Yeah.
and so needed, bringing the gentleness to it because like I said, it was terrifying
Mhm. Mhm.
for me
Right.
initially,
Yeah.
right? Just feeling like I was naked and caught up in a tornado and I thought I was going to be obliterated. I
Mm.
literally remember being like, help me, I'm dying, right? And I was, right? It
Yeah.
was an
Yep.
ego death,
Yep.
right? And I turned into nothing and then I was one with the universe. Heather disappeared.
Yep.
Right. And I was like, oh, and then it was full body orgasm. But the crazy thing was the other thing that came from that, speaking of underlying patterns that we weren't aware of, is all of the pleasure that I was experiencing, all the love that I was experiencing. I kept on saying to myself, I don't deserve this. I
Mm.
don't deserve this. So there was a worthiness thing hiding out
Yeah.
in my nervous system.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, it was crazy.
Yeah, I love that. And another thing I haven't mentioned alongside the gentleness is this medicine also needs spaciousness.
Right.
And how it's practiced and how I've received it in the past before is like you're in and you're out, right? It is this in and out kind of medicine. It's quick, it's fast acting, it doesn't last more than like 20 to 45 minutes. And then you can go on with your day. But you just met God. And that is something to be revered and to be processed in a way where it's like, okay, that was scary. Let's talk about it. How did that make you feel? What came up? Oh, you noticed that about yourself. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's trace the thread because, like, we can get to it fast if we're like, oh, there it is. And let's just tug on the thread, see what's here. Oh, that worthiness piece, that wasn't yours at all. That was your mom growing up with a abusive grandmother who was told to, work her ass off during World War II and had to hold it all, the kids, the work, and the struggle, while, our men are off over there fighting a useless war. And that's when the generational healing can happen, is when we can identify those things and say, that doesn't rule me anymore. And then we can go back in. The other part of this process is I do it multiple times in one sitting.
Mhm.
And instead of 90 minutes, it's about 4 hours because there is processing, there is holding, there is, okay, let's do that again. Your body knows that it's not going to die and it comes back. So let's do it again. And we don't have to even take that big of a dose where you completely disintegrate and you don't know where you are anymore. I feel that there's so much power in being able to be conscious in it and experience it. And so it's just been protocol and a standard of mine to more than half of what I was taught to pull back on dosage.
Oh, wow.
More than half.
Oh, if I do this again, I should do this with you.
I'm coming to LA next month.
Oh, I don't know about next month, but
no, I'm kidding.
I know you are. But if I feel called to do it again, I should definitely do it with you. I think that would be so amazing to be held by a sister, but also with our common ancestry. Because, my mom's from Leyte as well.
Right.
She's from Tacloban. So we have that in common. Oh my God, I love that you're doing this. And I love talking to you about it because I know only a very small handful of people who have had experience with this medicine, and you guiding people is a whole other level of engagement with it. So this is just so cool, and the world needs this so badly right now. It's really unbelievable. Okay, so I'm trying to think what else I want to ask you about this. Well, so I think for me, in terms of the integration period, I honestly think it took me about 2 years to integrate.
Yeah.
Would you say that's pretty much standard? Because it is. You're meeting God. Like, everything changed.
Yeah. You are with it for life. This is a lifelong journey post anything, any big moment like that. And, I am curious of what your integration process was like. I make sure that I work with every person for at least a month afterwards. So I'm just an open communication channel. We have 2 calls to help with integration. If there's questions, if there's just, a desire to be witnessed in their feelings and what they're experiencing, just a safe place to say something out loud. So it makes more sense. Then I am that space for that, because again, I just see how profound and how powerful this medicine can be. And when in the wrong hands, it can be very dangerous. It could be extremely unsafe. And so because an integration process can be that long, and I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. People have come to me with these stories of I am so sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry. So when done with reverence, with spaciousness, with time, it is something you can integrate actually fairly quickly, but it's always going to be just revealing itself. Why? Because of our hyper awareness that it gives us. We are just attuned to our energy. Why? Because we just somatically cleared our nervous system, and that gives us a picture. If you give yourself the time after your ceremony, what your energy feels like. Oh, this is my energy. When Bob comes over and I feel really heavy and irritated, it's not me. It's Bob.
Right.
Now I can make a different choice because I have an awareness that my body actually doesn't feel good when Bob's around.
That's huge. That's huge. I think it's so supportive and empowering people to know where they end and another person begins. For sure, right? Just with setting energetic boundaries and becoming the caretaker of our own energy. But it's hard to do that when you don't know what your own energy feels like.
Exactly.
Oh my God. I mean, I did not have that level of support when I was integrating. I kind of felt like I was alone.
Yeah.
Integrating. And I remember the day after, I had survivor's guilt in a way. I had this guilt. I was like, I can't believe I had this experience, and I don't know really anybody else who's had this experience. Why me? And I think it was tied to the worthiness piece of I don't deserve this, but I felt guilt. I was crying the next day. How did it come to me that I had this meeting with God? I felt bad about it. I felt guilt. It was so interesting, but all of this is to say that I would have really appreciated to have that level of support that you are now offering to your people, because I think it would have really helped me.
Yeah.
Because, everything changed. Everything shifted.
Everything
The crown opened. I felt so much more clear in my thinking. I felt my brain was just different.
Yeah. Yep.
Sharper.
And that's it. And it's like this incredible ability to just go into the brain and into the mind and rewire the whole system and upgrade it. Right. And to your point of what you just said, I just want to acknowledge you for being vulnerable in that truth of, I didn't feel like I deserved this meeting with God. This experience for people, you're right, less than 0.000000000000001% of the population will ever actually experience it. But the ripple effect that it creates throughout time and space is what matters. It's going to ripple out into your communities, your family, your relationship, your children, your workspace, because you fundamentally changed. The foundation was completely like demolished and rebuilt again, right? And then that gives you the invitation and the rocket fuel to go and do your thing and be in your service and make the impact that you're here to create. And everyone gets to reap the benefit of that. So you are so worthy of it because your heart is so big and you care so deeply, for our ancestral healing and our collective evolution.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I received that. Yeah, that was a huge deal, a huge turning point in my life. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that it came to me and said, Heather, we need to have a talk. We need to hang out.
I call it my direct report with God.
Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Okay. Well, so, oh my God, we could talk about this forever, but I do want to talk about the workshop that you so generously led for the members of the Ancestral Healing Collective last year. And it's called Soul Renewal, Ancestral Liberation Transmission. And it was so beautiful. Thank you so much for leading us through that experience. So for somebody who's interested in experiencing this workshop, and you'd have to join the membership to get the recording that, of course, you can watch over and over again. If you are interested, please go to heatherrebeccawilson.com to learn more. But for those who are like, I want this experience, what would you share with them in order to best prepare them to get the most out of that workshop?
Yeah, thank you. It's funny you say that because I read your question and then I was like, what did I do during that moment? It was a transmission.
I know you channeled.
Yeah, it was like such a big channel. And so can you just like maybe touch upon what struck a chord with you and that will help log the memory?
Well, here's what I have written from that. In this powerful transmission, Drea Aguilar, energy healer, medicine woman, and integration coach, will guide you on a journey of releasing intergenerational burdens to reclaim the profound essence of joy and peace that already resides within you. Through a harmonious blend of song, sacred prayer, breath work, and guided visualization, you'll embark on a soul renewing experience that will leave you feeling liberated, aligned, and connected to your ancestral wisdom.
Fun.
And so what I remember from this experience, this is so funny, you really just shared your story in a very powerful way. And it was an energetic transmission insofar as like you were you.
Yeah.
you were you telling your story. That's super powerful. I think the power of narrative is wild because it bypasses the cortical brain and it goes to the heart. So I would say I remember the potent heart transmission of what you shared.
Oh, thank you so much. It's feedback that I get a lot around the heart stuff. Just, man, your heart is super big. Oh, I can feel it over there. And I think I attributed that, and to your point of just my deep experiencing. I met this guy at South by Southwest, and we were just chatting on picnic table. I was telling him my story. He's like, "You just took me back there, and I felt what you were feeling." feeling. And so it is truly like this ability to just step out of the way and let the channel come through. And that happens when we go and retrieve our soul and bring it back home and allow it to speak. And just like through Reiki and the years and years of practice of ego step out of the way. Let the heart shine. Let that intelligence come through and feel safe here in the throat to actually let it come up and out with grace and not even second guessing myself. And am I saying this right? Does this make sense?
Right.
Did I plan this? Am I in control of it? No. Ancestors want to speak through us. They want to help us remember. And we have the ability to do that when we like center, ground ourselves, connect to the body's wisdom, connect to the heart's wisdom, ask the ego up here to step out of the way. And then like the channel just goes woof. Like it's funny, I have a dent in the back of my like head. And I feel like there's just this hole that just channels all these things. So I'm just really trying to remember, but I do remember how powerful that transmission was. And so how you best can prepare for that is making sure that you're not distracted and you've set up your altar space, you've cleansed your house, and you're being intentional with this connection. And then let that be part of your daily existence. It's like, am I intentional with everything I do, with every word I say, with every plant that I place in my house, with how I, connect and be present with one another? What's present? What's here right now? So that invitation of practicing presence, because that is where truly all the fun lives.
Your plants look so happy, by the way, in your background. They look so happy and healthy.
So happy. I have a skylight. I'm going to just do it because I have a skylight in my kitchen.
Oh,
and
nice.
It looks like you're being abducted by aliens because it funnels like this. And I swear to God that because I have this funnel going up out my roof and the ceremonies I hold and all the things that are moving through my space just gets shot up through the ceiling. And it's funny because Zephyr picked up on this. His grandma sent him a bag of these like sticky hands, but they're shaped like poop emojis with these little arms
my gosh.
smiles on them. And he threw them up into the little portal hole. And it's like the reverse toilet. It truly is what's happening. Poop is being looked up out of the ceiling, and it's so cute. Anyway,
I love that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is cool. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, so yes. So folks, if you are interested in experiencing that transmission from Drea, it's inside the Ancestral Healing Collective monthly membership. You have to join to get access to it. So again, go to heatherrebeccawilson.com to check out the membership, all the perks, and all of the cool workshops that we have inside of there. And Drea's workshop is absolutely one of them. So, all right. What do I want to ask you now? Well, so what are you working on now that you're super excited about? Is it more ceremonies? Is there other stuff going on? Give us an update.
Thank you. Yes to all of it. I just got reflected back before this call of just how much I do in a day. It's like, how do you do that? I don't know. Capacity is like like expanding my nervous system to hold the bigness of my life. What I'm most excited about right now, like I said in the beginning, is just having this clarity that I've never experienced before, because I'm a wild feminine. Like I'm the epitome of it. I am a tornado that is hard to contain sometimes. And it's really recently in the last year actually come to my awareness that I need more masculine containment, and that really starts with me first. And so applying structure and having a thought out strategy and a framework that makes sense, that is simple and it's clean. And that really dropped in for me 2 weeks ago. And so I'm happy and excited to share this for this first time publicly. I've been sharing it with my friends. and I've been talking about it on Instagram, but I haven't officially announced it. So I have come up with this framework based in fun, because I was talking to my housemate. We were just shooting the shit, and I said at one point, I'm like, if I am not having fun, I am not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it. No, if it's not fun. And I was like, what is fun? What does that mean to me? And so fun is freedom from my limitations, unapologetic in my expression, and guided by nature's wisdom. So I'm
Ooh.
having fun. And that is going to be my compass. Do I feel free? Do I feel fully expressed? And am I attuned to the energies of nature's wisdom, which is around me at all times? And so, like, really breaking down those principles is going to be the next fun part. And I'm just really excited to share this piece and run everything through this fun filter, and see what happens. Because, my work is so freaking serious. Like, trauma work and intergenerational healing and ancestral remembrance, like, it can get kind of heavy.
Yes,
I
I
really
know.
truly don't believe that's what our ancestors want for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be those things. It is those things, because it's only until we can lovingly accept and allow those things had happened to us, not for our own demise, but for our great awakening. It was happening for us to learn something, to activate these new gifts, to step into the 5D, right? And once we've learned to go deep and love those deep, ugly parts of us that we don't want to shine the light on all the time, that's when we can truly liberate ourselves, because we're having full access to our fun.
Sis, I love that. And I so resonate with what you shared about the ancestral healing work being so heavy, because I do think it's intimidating for people, especially when they're first introduced to it, because there are ups and downs on that journey, and each individual's journey is unique for them. And that's why I'm such a proponent of working with pleasure on this journey to make the journey I mean, honestly, more pleasurable, right? More fun, more beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice, it's a good thing to, along with astrology too, for me and in the membership. It's just supported me so much on that journey, because there can be darkness, right? There can be heaviness in it, and I don't think that the work is for everybody, right? I've come to understand that there are just, some people who are not going to do this work in this life. That's not their divine assignment. And that's okay, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what soul contracts they signed before they got here. I have no idea. And I would never, impose, you have to do what I did, right? That's not what this is about at all. But yeah, running everything through the fun filter, I love it, especially also as a generator in human design. I need to be turned on, and it
Right.
needs to be fun. I need to be excited about it.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm not doing it. But
Right.
I've had to learn that it was okay to do that, right?
Exactly.
Right? I had all these stories like,
Yep.
you're prioritizing fun.
Yep.
You're prioritizing your turn on. You're
Yep.
so selfish. You're so, right? All this crazy bullshit. So I love you claiming this.
Yeah, thank you.
This is brilliant. And before we wrap, I have to ask, do you feel comfortable sharing your sun, moon, and rising sign with our
So
community?
totally
Okay, tell
fine.
us.
It's probably obvious. Taurus, Sun, Cap, Moon, and a Leo rising.
Okay, Taurus sun, so fixed Earth sun, Cap moon, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Leo rising?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, you have an Earth moon, and then you are fire rising. Okay, well, tell me about this Cap moon.
Yeah.
And I always ask people about their moons because, number one, it represents ancestral wounds and our emotions, and basically what we are responsible for giving ourselves in order to feel balanced and at home in our own energy. So tell me, what do you do to support your emotional life and your emotional self? Because Capricorn moons have an emotional side, even though, you're the mountain goat that climbs the highest heights and
Yep.
can achieve.
Yeah.
you are also prone to burnout if you don't take care of your emotions. So I'm assuming plant medicine has something to do with it, but share with us, how do you take care of your Capricorn moon?
Thank you. It's one of those fickle like placements, right? Because I'm so ambitious and like
Mm-hmm,
my love language is material.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And if I'm not producing the material, then I'm a failure, right? And I think what's happening right now, and I'm going to be really freaking honest about
mm-hmm,
this, is something unlocked for me when I was like watching this Cap Moon video about what we were like and our emotions. And that if we're out late, it's not because we're working late, it's because we're actually very kinky people.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that. And it was not ready to be revealed to me at that point. And so, you know, we talk about pleasure and my journey with you and moving through what does pleasure mean to me? And that's how I satisfy my emotions, right? Running it through that fun filter. Do I feel expressed and safe to express? Um, Safe to receive is what else I'm learning about myself right now is the kinkiness, and then also allowing myself to be deeply loved as much as I love others.
My goodness, that's huge.
Yeah. And it's been very rewarding to open
Oh.
myself up to it and I'm like, okay, I'm all of this and what comes through because of it. And it's like, okay, I'll take it. And the big piece of that is working on that masculine wound of mine this whole year and how
Right.
like, where I am back then and what I was freaking going through, which was really hellish, and having boundaries and saying no to that masculine that isn't there to support me, and
Mm-hmm.
really just being I'm not settling for this anymore. And what do I deserve and what do I get to be? How do I get to be treated? And so it's just been like people from the masculine side is just showing up for me in all the ways, in all the love languages to remind me of how deeply loved I am.
This is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And then also, my mind is going to your Taurus sun.
Uh-huh.
That makes so much sense. Earth Mama, ruled by
What?
Venus, the goddess of love and money. And she's all about like pleasure and sensuality in the earth. This is where you shine. And it makes so much sense.
Mhm.
And then that Leo rising, the rising sign is the vehicle for our divine mission. It's our perception of reality. And Leo, the lion heart, is so passionate and is that devoted performer. When I tune into Leo energy, it's like they are the ultimate host in the sense that like they can be talking to you and you feel like you're the only person in the room, but they're also at the same time magically holding everybody. Part of that Leo growth journey I found just working with clients is like finding the right stage for yourself to shine,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
also coming into right relationship with praise, because
Mm.
you can be on either side of the spectrum with that, right? Like you need it, right? You
Yeah,
need praise, you need constant affirmation, or you're averse to it. It's
right,
like you cannot take a compliment. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like
right.
what's your Leo rising journey been like?
Oh, well, when I first started to get into astrology, which was around 2017, when all of it started happening, I had my birth time wrong. So I thought
Oh.
I was a Taurus double Capricorn, and it's wild. It was hiding. And then when I got the birth time correct, I was like, oh, I'm a Leo. And I was like, fuck all of you. I'm going to be myself and I'm going to be really loud about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I always was, but I didn't fully accept it.
Right.
And I yearned for the limelight. I wanted to be an actress, you know, growing up in LA and being exposed
Mm-hmm.
to movies super young. I went to film school,
Mm-hmm.
but I ended up behind the camera. Why? Because I was hiding and I was afraid to be seen and I was afraid to be judged and I didn't want to be criticized, but I just also really wanted to be praised, you know? And so, I think that's a projector quality as well. Like we need consistent affirmation and
Mm-hmm.
reminders that we're on the right track. But yeah, when I took full ownership of that, that's when my Instagram blew up and it was just like, I can just be authentically myself in my raw, real vulnerability. And what would that look like? And that actually built, even when I was going through a lot of shit, I'd talk about it. And that built a lot of trust with people, especially in 2020 when we were all being invited to be more authentic.
Yeah.
And so that Leo, that part of me just loves to be big, because talk about storytelling. In college, I trained under Luis Valdez in El Teatro Campesino, which was the farm workers theater, and they marched alongside Cesar Chavez during the grape strike. Those were my teachers. And what I learned through that was we get to be on stage to tell these stories to evoke emotion and invoke action. So it's always come from that lens of, if I get to share my story as the son, as the one on stage, and I get to tell my story through my eyes with the intention of teaching something, then I can inspire you to take that in action in your own life. That I came from nothing. I almost died. Several times I've tried to kill myself, whether I was conscious of it or not, and to come from those ashes and rise as who I am today is like, whoa, awesome. I love me. And actually the pattern was talking about the Leo ascendant today. And it was like, you get to love yourself. This is the ultimate action in self-love. And it's not conceited. You're not selfish. It's just who you are. And when you can own it and do it in a way that's still holding others in their best intention, I think that's the sweet spot for it, So
I 100% agree with that. Thank you for sharing all that, because I'm thinking about, there was a Leo new moon or a Leo full moon, I can't remember, during the pandemic, the first 8 months of COVID. So this was like July or August of 2020. And I went on a solo retreat by myself for the weekend with some psilocybin, as my friend, my buddy. And I had the most amazing experience, because for the first time in my life, I was like, this is what it's like to be in my energy. I love this. I'm fun. I got to feel and taste what the Heather energetic transmission is. And it was so quintessential Leo. Like, it was such a Leo thing. Like, be myself. I'm awesome. Right. And that doesn't mean I'm self-centered or absorbed or whatever, or selfish. It was just like what you said. Enjoy myself, love my personal expression, and love others at the same time. Right. And it allowed me to love others more because I was loving myself. Right. It deepened and expanded my capacity for love because I needed to love myself more. And it was that Leo energy. It was that Leo moon that was the portal for that. So thank you. Thank you for talking about that. And also thank you for that Jade Egg testimonial. That really means a lot to me. It's such an amazing tool, but that's like a whole other, I'm going to have to do another podcast interview.
One, and we'll do the after dark version.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. I don't even know if there's an after. Well, you know what? You just gave me an idea. You just gave me an idea.
Your conversation anyways. We can put this only fam.
Yeah, we're going to put a pin in all of this because we're going to do this again. This has been such an amazing conversation. What you're doing out in the world is so important. And I just want to send you so much love and encouragement. And I'm just so proud of you. I'm so inspired by you. And what you're doing is just amazing. Keep being that Leo self. Own your spotlight. I mean, you are doing it. Keep owning your spotlight. Keep shining bright. So as we wrap, can you share with us what are the new cycles that you are starting in your lineages for your descendants that are already here and for the ones to come? So what are the new seeds you're planting?
The new seeds that I'm planting for my legacy is just everything we've talked about. Full ownership of who we are and what our gifts are, and this devotion to service, and doing it from a place that is loving and tender and kind and also abundant, where I'm not giving myself away and taking on all the burdens without anything in return. Fully taking ownership of, if I can deeply love this way, I get to also deeply love this way into me, right? I get to be deeply loved. And what does deeply love look like as a sensual goddess? And I get to enjoy the pleasures of life. And it is in my every moment, every present moment, every moment I can feel it. And it's so orgasmic and ecstatic. And that's the legacy I want to instill in my children and their children, is to fully experience life through our feeling sense.
Beautiful. Sister, thank you.
Thank you.
This has been amazing. Again, I keep saying this, but if people want to find out more about you, they want to work with you, where should they go to get in contact with you to learn about your different offerings?
Yes. You can email me, hello@consciousmother.com. Instagram is conscious.mother, and consciousmother.com. Maybe I'll have my website together someday, but I like to keep it spicy. You can always reach out. I'm available for one-on-one work. I love working my privates. I love these containers where we dive deep into every facet of your life to improve your relationship with self, to improve your relationships with others, to be a boss at your business, and to become that fully embodied human and leader that we need in this day and age, where we can truly make an impact together and create community and this global community where we all can resource from each other. I desire to be the hub for that.
And so it is. I love it. Oh my gosh. All right. Thank you so much. Sending you big hugs, so much love, and we will see you next time on the Cycle Starters podcast. Take care, everybody.